It's long been a running joke in the United States that our government is terrible about spending money on things. And usually the joke is put forward by conservatives who are angry about the government spending money on what they see as useless things like fruit fly research or songbird research or tobacco research or climate change research or research in general. Any research that can cost the American public up to $1,000 or maybe $1 million per useless study. One thing I've never seen on lists of useless things the government spends money on is abstinence-only education, which is weird because there's absolutely no evidence that abstinence-only education works, and a lot of evidence that it doesn't. For instance, research shows that in states that have abstinence-only education, they also have higher rates of teen pregnancy and STDs. And I assure you that there is both correlation and causation. And yet, from 1996 to 2010, Congress spent over $1.5 billion funding abstinence-only education in U.S. schools. That's a huge amount even in the world of government spending, and it's an absolutely luxurious, exorbitant amount compared to the $10,000 studies on obscure tree frogs that conservatives love to complain about. $1.5 billion wasted on 15 years of useless education for American kids is bad enough, but I recently learned that in the 10 years between 2004 and 2013, the U.S. government spent nearly $1.4 billion on abstinence-only education for people in sub-Saharan African communities. That's even more money spent per year in a place where the price for ignorance is so much higher because HIV is rampant and treatment for HIV is much harder to come by. And sure enough, a rigorous, comprehensive study has just been published showing that when it comes to known HIV risk factors like age of first sexual contact, total number of sexual partners, and rate of teen pregnancy, there is absolutely no difference between the communities that got that $1.4 billion and communities that did not get the $1.4 billion. In other words, that money was completely wasted. So to sum up, that's a total of $3 billion that have been spent on absolute pseudoscience, both in the US and abroad. So what can we do to stop the spread of HIV? Well, the same research says that the best thing we can do is empower women. Make sure that women stay in school as long as possible, which reduces risky sexual behavior that can exacerbate the spread of HIV. Also, make sure women have access to comprehensive health care, including making sure that women get HIV meds if they are pregnant to prevent them from passing the disease on to their children. In fact, the money the U.S. has spent on simply making sure that people in sub-Saharan African communities have access to HIV meds has saved an estimated 1 million lives. And that's because when it comes to treatment, our policies are based on science. When it comes to prevention, they're based on the religious right sticking their fingers in their ears and pretending that people just won't have sex if you don't want them to. That is not the way it works. And if we continue pretending that that's the way it works, it's going to continue to not only cost us a lot of money, but also a lot of lives.